The question is, if a client asks me how they should teach their dog how to play dead, first thing I would say is check out our YouTube channel, of course, because we just shot a video about playing dead. But that is just the surface of it. You know, that video will show you good examples and give you good technique and show you where my hands are in relation to that dog in that video. And then the idea there is that you start to copy and do pretty much the same thing that you're seeing in the video with your dog. When you do that, because your dog is a little bit different than Sandy, when you do that, you're going to get a different result. If you can take that advice and kind of mold it to your situation, it should help you in your situation. For example, Sandy's a pretty high energy dog. She's highly food motivated and she's motivated to work. So I could hold food more with Sandy than if a dog was not interested in working for food. I'd have to make it so that way they're able to get the food easier than it is for Sandy, because Sandy will work really hard for food. Like, you have to kind of know that about your dog. You know, I have a bunch of different tricks in my bag for this. So some dogs I come across, I try to do things like with Sandy, and that does not work for that dog. And then I go to a different trick. But the principles are still the same. If the dog is moving in the direction that I want the dog to move in, then I reward that movement. And that could be mentally or it could be physically. There are possibly many ways to teach a dog how to play dead. You know, we can use tension on the leash, tension and release on leash to do that. We can use physical manipulation of the dog's body in order to do that. We can use luring in order to teach a dog how to lay down and play dead. I use luring with food as my primary way because that's the way I enjoy doing it, especially for tricks, you know, especially for things that are not mandatory that the dog does. For those things especially, I want to use food. But even for the things that are mandatory, I use food a lot. It's just the way I train. I think it's more enjoyable for me and it's more enjoyable for my dog. So a cool thing about luring is that once you start practicing it and it starts to become really easy for you, as long as you have food, it'll become natural for you to use that as a technique to get your dog to do what you want them to do. So if you want your dog to move from one area to another, you're naturally going to do the luring techniques. If you want your dog to lay down, you're naturally, instead of touching the dog necessarily, trying to push him down or pull him down, you're naturally going to start to, you know, put your hand where you do when your dog lays down. At the same time, around the same time, your dog will naturally start to lay down, even if you just have the hand position. That doesn't mean that your dog will keep laying down if you never reward them for it. They won't. Eventually, they're going to be like, well, you're not rewarding me for this. I don't know if I want to do it. So my advice is always to reward the things that you like. Always reward the things that you like. Another thing that I want to say is that this stuff, I've been practicing this stuff for over a decade. You know, you can't expect it to be the same when you're doing it as when I'm doing it, unless you've been practicing for also over a decade or so, right? But if you haven't been, then it takes a little time to learn the skill itself. My hand moves at a particular speed according to what I'm seeing with the dog. You know, the distance from the dog's nose, all of that are things that I experimented with and I got wrong a lot until they became really easy for me. So that's what I got for you this time. I hope that helps you with this video and these videos that we're shooting right now.